Alright, good evening everybody. System Chalk here with the 30th episode of Cultist Simulator, The Bright Young Thing Legacy, playing as David Ellison. When we last sort of had a session together, we were at the point where an investigation's about to come after us. I've got a chilly atmosphere. Now, I don't actually need to work with the chilly atmosphere. I can work with other things as well. Oh yes, I have a staleness, actually. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to get rid of the staleness with the passion, but I'm not going to use the chilly atmosphere. I'm actually going to let that decay. So essentially, what I want to do is strategy built around making money. Now, I'll have a little bit of mystique. I'm going to be getting some more notoriety anyway. And at this point, we've just more or less decided that we're going to get hit by the weary detective, you know, whether I like it or not. I actually don't think I'm going to be able to get rid of the weary detective before the investigation comes in. But that's fine, because we will just use things to destroy evidence instead. But what I do want to do is try and get a better, kind of a better rotation as far as eliminating staleness and then sort of building up a savings again. And that's going to mean doing a lot of activities that use my reputation. So first things first, we're going to clear the staleness with the passion. In this case, I can kind of use whatever. Actually, you know what? It doesn't hurt, because I'll still want another notoriety anyway. So in this case, I'm going to do a mood piece with winter. But that's more about, like, that's just because it's convenient and I avoid getting a dread for a little bit longer on that. We bear a great power of opening. Will almost certainly shatter this warded door. So we won't pay for the paints. Under normal circumstances, I'd love to throw the Grey Dawn oil in. The problem is that I believe that won't eliminate our. Our staleness in that case. It'll just generate a notoriety. Or two notoriety, in fact. I dreamt of the mantis behind the white door, of the great space above the orchard, the space that overlooks the bounds, the space where the vagabond once painted her river. Painted ships passed upon the painted river. I met the painted eyes of a painted captain. She saluted, and the motion was like the layered movement of clouds. The sail of the ship was amber, and the captain's eyes the green of new barley, and the river aquamarine. Now that I'm awake, I see those colors still. So I do have a fascination to deal with. I could get rid of that with the fleeting reminiscence. Alternatively, I could use the dread to get rid of... I think I'm going to let the fleeting reminiscence go away, and we'll just wait for the dread to show up. My own heart pumps more strongly today. Okay, there's the investigation. So slight chance that they take the mystique above the notoriety. Okay, it looks like they did. My minion is returned, attended by a prisoner rendered docile with delight. Someone has fallen into your clutches. They won't survive forever, although they survive much longer than they used to. I don't believe there's a timer on prisoners anymore. Okay, let's go for... I think we're going to do the same trick, actually. Artist reward. My recent work has attracted a couple of callers. With luck, something will sell. Well, it didn't sell, but we did get rid of the staleness. So, can I afford to wait 30 seconds? I would like to do... Well, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Grab the 3 notoriety and a couple mystique. Oop, just a single mystique. Let's paint the... Kind of indifferent, honestly, but let's just do a mood piece on erudition. We have translated the Book of the Centipede. In the 1860s, one Madame Yi presented an entertainment based, she claimed, on this book. The centipede has always found her way into the dark places. When she was punished for it, she reacted badly, in the Mantis as in Maya. So in 23 seconds, we're going to combine the fascination and the chilly atmosphere. Okay, treasures lie before us, good. I have a vitality for the season of sickness, so we will be covered from that. The big question is, what is the money situation going to be? And in this case, I'd love to pay for paints, but we're actually trying to earn money, so... Okay, so we take the fascination and the dread. The doors of vision swing wide, a little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. Now, this restlessness is going to get used in a painting immediately after. This means that we're sort of holding off on commissions now, but that's the appropriate choice to make when we're in a situation where we need to, where we need to earn some money. The White Library. The room is bleached and quiet. The chairs are pale wood. The table is topped with white marble. A low draft blows through the ill-fitting sea-facing casement. In winter it must be insupportably cold. A white-painted glass case holds a shelf of books, wrapped oddly in coils of copper wire. Okay, Season of Vision's coming up, but unless I have... Oh, we do have a staleness I need to worry about. Okay, so... 8 seconds before we can paint with passion. I'm willing to wait that out. Okay. And following that, we'll use whatever notoriety and mystique is left to take out the... we'll use that to earn some money again. The river runs through the sands out of myth and into legend. The painted river runs the other way. One is barred to the centipede now, but she finds ways back in sometimes. Okay, the next set of books that we'll be getting will come from the expedition. I think we can afford to wait 4 seconds. Some of the books are exotic 18th century pornography, others are botanist journals. Some, however, have value for our studies. A yellowing note tucked into the spine of one reads, "Watch for me, J.C." So here we have the Shavenlock Tantra, the Concursum Diaries, Matthias and Amethyst Imago, Loss, another copy of Gildersleeves, which we can sell, Those Who Do Not Sleep, and all the people who went with us on the expedition. So, this is maybe not the wisest choice I could make, but I do kind of want to push ahead with an expedition. So the big challenge that I have here is that I'm going to need, if I use 2 funds on the expedition, okay, actually, I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to sell 1 thing at Oriflamme's. I'm going to sell a copy of Kerner and Gut. This oddity is probably worth something, but it's hard to be sure. So that's going to mean that we lose some time with the Percussagant and the Callagine. The logic behind it is this. I need to cover the rent. And ideally, I'm going to pay some money to make a better painting in the next round. So I do need to make sure that I don't use up all the cash for an auction. But we're not going to lose the Callagine or the Percussagant in the time that it takes us to do the auction. So in this case here, I'm trying to just make sure that I have a certain level before I move forward. Sorry, I should have read about the dusty facts becoming clear. A minion is returned, attended by with a prisoner, rendered docile by delight. That actually gave us the money that we needed, but I didn't plan it. Now, as you can see here, we're just completely abandoning any pretenses to being a nice person. I'm tempted to just go with Saliba one more time, but let's at least get a commission from Dr. Adine. The air is curdled now. I'm home again in this lump in flesh. Better, perhaps. And can I... Wait, I need to work with that. My bad. Yeah, I think we are going to use the spider door. In my dreams, I found my way to the spider's door, sometimes called the Bloody Gate, or more informally, the Wrong Door. In my dreams, I know the path through the silken sands to the spider's door. If I slake its thirst by spilling fresh blood before I sleep, it will open to me. The spider's door is always thirsty, always. The blood I have given leaks in threads and spills through the skin of the world. And the door drinks, and a moment's satisfaction swells its opening until I can pass. So Let's translate these works. On the study door, the work begins. The auction is complete. The auctioneer's gavel bangs. My item has sold. Okay, so Gladwin Lake. Beneath the stark slopes of the fells, the mist-wreathed surface of the lake awaits. There was a twin altar here before the Romans came, and a legend of a serpent who was sent to defile that altar. So clearly one that we will be using Enid and Neville on. Beneath the surface of the lake, or in some cliffside nook, perhaps some relics remain for us yet. And Dr. Adine would like Secret Histories work. Okay, we're going to get Saliba to do his thing again. This illness has damaged my health. I will need to rest before I'm fully recovered. Cure your affliction with funds or vitality. I should have waited. So if I'd been using the... Oh no, we could still use the vitality. Yeah, I think I was originally saving up to use the vitality for the affliction. Exceptional work. This is something special. It may provoke a reaction. Okay, so 2 funds for clearing out a staleness. I am not going to complain about that outcome. But the more important task is to use as much of my notoriety as possible, and preferably the stuff that's going to expire soon. And here we're absolutely swinging for the fences. We want to earn as much as we can off of this one. So let's say for this one, I'll do a portrait of Cat Caro. Something to remember them by, perhaps. Expedition continues. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I could add funds now, or I could send another follower. And here we pay for the colors of the night. So again, pure notoriety painting. This should be giving us a decent return. Okay. Pounding airs is kind of tempting because of the fact that heart will turn into a vitality, but I tend to go to the Mallory in most cases. Right, that's actually a little inconvenient, but we'll work with it. Last night in the Mansus, I visited the Mallory, from whose impulses and rotations one does not emerge unchanged. There are many radiances there, from the fires and the forge and her names and her instruments, but one radiance lingers behind them all like a fading music, the last light of the sun in splendor, shed in the moments before his division, here where the forge is strongest. Now that I have awoken, I see that radiance still. So we do have a use for the Blaze of Radiance, just not quite the one that I was expecting. So let's take our affliction with our expiring vitality. All I need now is time. And let's see how much money we made with our notoriety. Shavenlock Tantra, also known as the one who has shaven his hair. This, the story goes, is the lore that even the shape-changing Vanarus rejected. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do translations first, and then I'm going to read them. And this is just because once I finish all of the reading, I may want to turn whatever erudition and glimmering I get from these texts, I might want to turn those into lore upgrades. So, on Matthias and Amethyst Imago, Loss, the diagrams and illustrations, even across the centuries, are elegant, hypnotic, occasionally erotic, even in Aramaic. Not even in Aramaic. And if it's not clear why I moved the Concursum Diaries aside, it's because it's in a language that I do not yet understand. Frisian. We call upon the Mother of Ants, which encircleth. Now we call upon the Mother of Ants, which ariseth from wounds. The serpent's mouth is large enough to crouch in. Its tongue is as thick is the thickness of a man's shoulders, but almost certainly it will respect the power we bear. My recent work is celebrated. My name is known, and the work has done well. So we did get some staleness off of that, but we have a cure for that. 7 seconds, and we'll use our passion. Actually, This will be probably longer than I need, than I want, but we are okay with money now, or for a little bit. So we want the stag door, presumably. Should maybe just double check that. Yep. And then we require a token of the merciless light of the Mansis. Can I get away with a lower one? Yes. The blinding key. The right is the key that will allow the watchman's gaze to enter me. I will be changed forever. Out in the night, my follower is whispering words that sometimes they might mean. Even if their victim knows the words are lies, they may not care. A minion has returned, attended by a prisoner rendered docile with delight. Okay, so we'll take our Blaze of Radiance, and we are going to level up Cat Caro. Only a rare few, those most suited to service in our mysteries, may achieve this rank. She still performs in theaters sometimes. She still performs in the theaters sometimes. Cat Caro, the posters say, finds the path. Cat Caro knows the way. The sick room grows close and stale. Time to get up. So the question is, do I want to try the spider door again? And I can't see a reason why not. Spider's door is always thirsty, always. The blood I have given leaks and threads and spills through the skin of the world, and the door drinks it, and a moment's satisfaction swells its opening until I can pass. Okay, finally, those who do not sleep. A Fusine text attributed to the mystic Broadnax. Lock the study door, the work begins. Okay, our expedition plans for that. Sorry, I should be reading what happens here. Back, it's too much for us. We still have enough money set aside, so unless a follower falls, we'll just leave that be. It's inconvenient when that happens, but I'm happier than losing someone. Oh, and we completed it. So, Ascension Enlightenment, the Watchman, who is the door in the eye, has touched me. Every day now my curiosity grows stronger, an urgent physical need like gnawing hunger. I know this to be the third mark. The rite is complete. The marks of the Watchman are upon me. The first mark is what I have said. The second is what I have done. If I inspect my body, I'll find the third. My hungers have been refined now. So the drawback here is that the prisoners are going to start dwindling, but I'll work with what I got. Okay, so again, this is a passion painting because I want to get rid of the staleness. Why does this happen? I feel like I should probably put in a bug report on this at this point because I think that's the third video where I've run into that. I don't really want to generate any more notoriety for now, so let's do a vitality painting. Time alone in a quiet room with a living mind. That's all I need. I pledge myself to light the way for the willing and for the unwilling. I pledge myself to navigate. I pledge myself to illuminate. I pledge myself against mercy. I will walk the path that is shown, no matter the price. Archaeologists find treasures in tombs. Farmers bring harvest from the fields. What does Cat Caro unearth in dreams? Okay, let's get Saliba back on the job. A reminder, we're trying to get rid of staleness here so we don't pay for the paints. I have drunk the light of their mind. It thrills and fills me. The marks brighten in me. The fourth mark is the light that is found in the eyes, but it is very subtle. Most can see it only when the lamps are extinguished or the night is very dark. Although when I open my eyes very wide, more light leaks out. I am growing thinner. So we may get a fascination out of this. Forbidden Epic's kind of tempting, but let's try for the Mallory again. Unresolved ambiguity. In the Mantis, the hours strive one against another. As the struggles are resolved, they iron out the impossible, exalt the possible, tie the fraying braids of what has been into one golden ribbon of future. Everything is resolved. History becomes the past. There are, however, exceptions. Last night in the Mantis, I visited the Mallory, from whose hammers and crucibles one does not emerge unchanged, and for 9 beats my heart ceased while it entered the fires of the forge, and the passions of the forge entered into it. I woke with the dawn, and its poor divided colors inspire memories of the forge's passion for the sun, of the vagabond's curse, of the Grail's deep longing. So many half-memories. Alright. So normally here I would be heading back to the spider's door, but we don't have what we need for that yet. So I think I'm just going to hold back on Dream for now. Prepare the text for study, and we're at a point now where we can start reading all of the text. So the Shaven-Locked Tantra, also known as the one who has shaven his hair. This, the story goes, is the lore that even the shape-changing Venaris rejected. The Tantra speaks glowingly of those who are prepared to abandon their old self to seek a new and higher self. It warns that once the change has truly begun past the 3rd mark, a return to the old self is dangerous and painful. Timely read. The serpent's sorrow. It lowers its great head. Moisture seeps from its lidless eyes. Is it weeping? What does it remember of its eldest sister, whose power we call upon? Okay, so fortunately we did get rid of the staleness. Unfortunately, we didn't get any money for that, but again, we can do a big reputation painting, and I'm not going to worry about waiting for the restlessness. In this case, we're just going to make hay. I am certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. So, Season of Ambition's coming up. In this case, I would need a prisoner, but we'll see if it turns out. We'll see if we get one in time. But again, that's going to prevent us from going to the spider door again. Half-glimpse wistfulness has touched me. So even if we wind up doing a passion painting, we're using that restlessness. Finished. This is work I can be proud of. With enough publicity, it will sell. My recent work is celebrated. My name is known, and my work has done well. But we did get 2 staleness out of that, so much the worse for me. Let's get that. Nope, can't do a passion painting yet. I think now might be a good time for me to start fulfilling some commissions. This may be useful for a commission. Whisper your secrets into the earth, burn them in fire, scatter them in the sea. Still, they will cling to your hair, the Tantra cautions. It provides an occult riddle that it claims is sometimes the answer to the riddle of the Hunter's Gate. So here we've got the Ecdysis parable. Obviously, we're getting that particular hint much later than we needed it because we're getting the spider's door. It is worth remembering, though, that we're only in the Shires, so in principle we're ahead of where the game sort of thinks we would normally be in terms of the expeditions that we're following through on. Part of that was a money situation. Part of that's just my weird way of playing. I'm not too worried about it, but just a kind of an example. One thing I do like about the way that this is formatted, and I don't know if this is intentional or if this just happens to be how the game works out, I like the fact that so even if you wind up in a situation where you've already solved something, so again, you're not always going to know that the Ecdysis parable is a potential answer to the Stagdoor's riddle. But I feel like reading those particular texts are a really nice hint to the player that there's more than just nice writing inside of the different texts. So if you happen to be, someone who solved the Stagdoor's riddle without necessarily reading that work, it still gives you some interesting information. One, that different locations have different names. So the Stagdoor, has other names, and that it may be that when you see references inside of texts, that they could be, it could be an easy reference to something. Like basically, there's a connection that you can potentially make, but you are going to have to do a little bit of work for it. And then in addition, it communicates the very idea that, oh, okay, I'm running into problems in this game. I'm having difficulty figuring things out, but I'm not completely on my own. That if I read between the lines of the text, I can actually get through this. I don't just need to randomly combine different cards. Again, it's interesting. Some games, so I know Unity has the ability to sort of track, certain actions in games, and sort of phone home with that information. So far as I can tell, Weather Factory doesn't have that, but it would have been really interesting when this game was being made, if they had enabled something like that, because in the old version of this game, and yeah, I'm sorry to sort of just free associate on game development stuff, because honestly, like, I'm not a developer. I don't know. Yeah, I've none of the practical experience that's required to say anything meaningful about these things. But from the perspective of someone who knows a thing or two about working with data, I think it would be fair to say, given that the original game, like the early alpha and even until quite late in the beta, you were not restricted in terms of what card combinations you could use. So essentially everything worked like they work with Sulochana. It would have been very interesting to have sort of reports on the different combinations that people were trying. So obviously some people are just going to try every possible combination, but I suspect those people are going to get quite bored. Even then, though, you get an idea of roughly how many combinations people are going to try before. Like, you can just sort of see, right? Once people try random combinations, you can actually sort of see probably a timeline between when they do that and when they close the game. But I think the more interesting cases would be like, is there a density of combinations that people are trying to use in response to certain books, right, or certain challenges? What seems like a natural response to a player? Because I think it's very fair to say that that Weather Factory was, I think they have a great intuition about what players are thinking when they play their game. Because if they didn't have any of that stuff enabled, I actually think there's a lot of people who... I know my experience of Cultist Simulator is that if I sort of feel like something should work, generally it tends to reward things. And that's not just because I'm experienced with the game. Even when I didn't necessarily know those outcomes, having some hunches seemed to sort of line up. But yeah, so I mean, to a certain extent, maybe you don't need to quantify it if you're really smart in terms of what players experience. But with that in mind, like I think there would be something kind of interesting in terms of seeing what are the false paths that players are taking, and does that reflect I think it would be neat to see a plot of that, just simply because that then gives the designers the information. Okay, so is this a blind alley that I'm okay with someone going down because this either teaches them something interesting, or it's a legitimate read and there do need to be some mysteries. Obviously, I think well, maybe not obviously, but personally I think Cultist Simulator would be a lesser game if if essentially there was kind of hand holding the whole way, or you weren't allowed to sort of have some of those blind alleys that you go down. I know, like, in the moment when you're feeling frustrated about something, you want those to go away. But I think in terms of the overall enjoyment of the game, and the reason why this game has sort of the dedicated following that it does, is because it did sort of treat the player as a grown-up and allow them to have some failure or to have some frustration. But again, I think there's something interesting in being able to measure and to make a determination. This is where someone's lost and we're okay with them being lost. And this is where, someone is lost, and it's because this particular phrasing was unclear. Like, people are trying knock, and I totally see why they should, why they're using knock, but this is also communicating a misunderstanding of knock, that sort of idea. But that's a speculation for another time. I'm sorry to end on sort of the monologue or the shower thoughts version, but it actually seems like a decent enough place to wrap up anyway. So the challenges that we're going to be overcoming. Number one, we do have the restlessness. Right, we were doing a commission first. Hang on, do I have enough time? Nope, that restlessness is going to turn into something nasty. So if I'm worried about it, I could bring a pawn up to something. If I'm not worried about it, I just let it expire. Yeah, we could probably just let it expire. We need to feed my marks. Now I could just let them sort of expire, but I don't know. We'll try and keep things satisfied. There's a couple of other actions I wanted to take which I wasn't able to get done, but I was happy that we were able to turn Cat Caro into a seer, and we'll be doing that with Clifton and Slee as well. So the choices that I need to make, going through Dream, now I don't think we're going to be able to go back to the Spider's Door, and I don't quite see a reason to go through the Stag Door like I used to. I am going to need to send someone to deal with that evidence. We'll probably send one of the Moth Followers. And then study-wise, we still have Matthias and Amethyst Imago. Of course, I want to do that. I want to do that at the start of the next broadcast because I tend to like to read all of the text for a book in one session. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good day or night, because I'm beginning to appreciate the geographic diversity of the people who watch these things. Either way, I definitely appreciate. Actually, I really appreciate it when people let me know either where they're from or how they found the channel and things like that. But either way, I appreciate you watching, and we will see you tomorrow in the next one. Until then, take care.